Thank you, Clive. Good evening and welcome to Look North. Our top story tonight. The Prime Minister's in Yorkshire to announce multi-million-pound funding for rail services. But is it new funding?
415 million into the Transpennine Railway.
15 million pounds isn't new money. That's already
new.
been committed already, though, hasn't it?
No, that is new money.
We'll look at the government's plans to improve transport in our region. Also tonight, the wrestling group helping young people who aren't in mainstream school to engage in education. The newly rendered church tower that's caused upset in a North Yorkshire village. A grand piano is gifted to a hospital in Leeds where staff and patients are encouraged to play.
And it's felt much fresher today. We've also had a few showers about as well. I'll be back at the end of the programme with a look at the weekend and some good news for next week.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. The Prime Minister has defended announcing millions of pounds of money for Transpennine Rail, despite the money having already been allocated to the project. The Prime Minister was at a carpet mill in Meltham today and confirmed his commitment to a tram system in West Yorkshire. But there was doubt from one of his own departments about whether what he was announcing was new. Our political editor, James Vincent, has more.
Yeah, of course, we've been told a lot of times that our transport system in Yorkshire and the north of England more widely is going to improve. And when we get a press release like this from the government, one of our jobs is to look at what the government's saying, what they're going to do and how they're going to pay for it. And there's quite a lot of toing and froing between the BBC and the Department for Transport and Number 10 last night to try and work out whether this was new money for trains. So that's what we thought we'd put to the Prime Minister on his visit to West Yorkshire today. This place weaves the material for seats on trains, and for an announcement on money for better trains, the Prime Minister travelled to Yorkshire and, well, you couldn't make it up.
If you can believe it, the train was late.
Now, you might recognise some of this material. If you don't, your bum will. You've sat on some of this on the tram, on the train. This one's the tube. They make that here. If there's more trains, there's more seats, more business for them, and more options for us as passengers. But that's something as passengers we've been waiting for a very long time. Is this you now saying yes to a tram system in West Yorkshire? Are you committing to that today?
Well, we've put a huge amount of money, £1.7 billion into transport in the north. Obviously, 415 million into the Transpennine Railway.
15 million pounds isn't new money. That's already
new.
been committed already, though, hasn't it?
No, that is new money.
The Department for Transport were very confused about that list today. They didn't think it was new money.
415 is new money going in. Obviously, it's a big project, up to about a £10 billion project. But this is a material and important step forward. To your point about trams and other transport, yes, we do want to support that. The most important thing there is, one, that we provide the money. Secondly, we then work with local representatives, with the mayors and other representatives, because I'm a real believer that those with skin in the game make the best decisions. So those that are using the transport in the area will know best what transport they want. So we make the money available, but then work with the mayors to make sure that that is spent on the changes that will make a difference on the ground to people, whether they're visiting their family, whether it's for work or leisure or whatever it may be.
This all depends on your definition of new money. The £415 million for Transpennine Rail is just the latest slice of the £11 billion already allocated to the project. It's just getting released now. Is it new money if we already knew it was coming? The transport options might increase for people, but will people be able to use that transport? They're going to be less well off in this part of the world because of what happened this week.
Well, what this week's figures showed, the OBR, which does all the forecast that living standards are going up by £500, and there's statistics out this morning that show that living standards went up in the third quarter of last year. Now, I'm not going to stand here and say to your viewers everybody's better off, but my absolute mission is to make sure they are. The evidence is beginning to show they are.
The government's been under intense focus this week. If it wants to move on and talk about transport in Yorkshire, it shouldn't expect any less scrutiny, because we've been closely examining every government's plans to improve that tier for years. The Conservatives say that Labour are re-announcing plans that the previous government had already announced. The Shadow Transport Minister Gareth Bacon says that Labour's plans will put power in the hands of the trade unions to hold the North to ransom. Now, there are local elections coming up. You can find your local election, if there's one in your area, on the BBC website, and we will be speaking to all of the party leaders as they come to our part of the world on that campaign trail.
James, thank you. Next tonight, teachers at a Bradford school for excluded children say a wrestling course has helped to transform the behaviour of some students. Alternative provisions, also called AP, provide full-time education for children who have been excluded or can't go to a mainstream school. This might be due to medical reasons, mental health issues or behavioural problems. Last year, there were more than 26,000 pupils in alternative provision across England, up 7% from the year before. And Bradford follows a similar trend. Over the same period, there were over 250 pupils in Bradford in alternative provision, an increase of 15 pupils from the year before. The classes in Saltaire are an anger management technique run by the only pro-wrestling Christian charity in the UK. Heidi Tomlinson reports.
Go. Give him a push. Oh! Block!
Wrestling helps me because I can take my anger out on the person I'm going to be wrestling with.
Thomas was excluded from school because his ADHD was taking control. He couldn't focus until wrestling became an outlet.
Oh! Grab his head.
It looks violent, but it doesn't hurt. It all depends if you land wrong when you get hit down. If you land wrong, that's your fault.
Try and get as straight as you can.
The 13-year-old has developed a bond with Gareth Thompson, who set up a faith-based pro-wrestling charity in Saltaire. Gaz provides support for young people going through tough times because he's been there. Homeless at 15, living in a skip with an alcoholic mum and a dad who left.
I want them to have a good male role model. I want them to have a father figure. I want it to be a good person. I don't want it to be influenced by the internet and all the other stuff you hear about recently. I want these lads to be able to look at someone and go, I want to be like them. Grab him, big lift, lots of noise, lots of energy.
Through routine, discipline and kindness with a hefty dollop of fun, these fragile teenagers look anything but. Wrestling sessions were organised through school, Bradford Alternative Provision Academy. Teachers are convinced the impact is positive.
Thomas has seemed more settled in class, more able to focus. Partly, I think, because he's got an outlet for some of his energy, his boundless energy. Also, it's a little reward at the end of a week. If he's hit his targets in school, he can then go down to wrestling.
Nice.
At this level, wrestling is 100% choreographed. Moves may look haphazard, but each one is rehearsed with participants taught to land safely.
So you grab the arm here and then you put your arm under the leg, pick them up, put them on your shoulders and then drop them.
A staged throw which takes focus and precision, something Thomas struggled with before.
I feel very happy, that I can't be nowhere else but here.
One kid has already gone back into mainstream education, so he's gone back. So he's no longer here, which is a shame. But for these kids, that is the trajectory that they're on. So this is just these. How many other kids in other similar projects across Bradford and West Yorkshire could benefit from this? Round on 2 feet.
Thomas is preparing to entertain a crowd this weekend when he'll wrestle for the first time in front of an audience, with his confidence sky high and attitude transformed. Heidi Tomlinson, BBC Look North, Saltaire.
Sensitive military information about Catterick Garrison, the North Yorkshire Army base, has been found on a street in Newcastle. Piles of paper were discovered spilling out of a bin bag by a member of the public earlier this month. The documents contain soldiers' personal details as well as shift patterns and information about weapons. Callum Brewer reports.
Mike Gibbard was walking into Newcastle city centre to watch the League Cup final when he came across this.
I just kind of peered down and started to see names on bits of paper and numbers and thought, well, what's that?
Strewn across the street were armoury codes, soldiers' ranks and emails, weapon issue details and shift patterns, all seeming to relate to the British Army base in Catterick Garrison.
Oof, a couple of black bags worth at least. Not just in one specific spot, in the road, underneath cars, kind of spread all the way up the road. And obviously I started looking around and obviously found a lot more on the other side of the road as well that wasn't in a bag. I said to my wife, this shouldn't be here. Why is it here?
What Mike had found were large piles of torn up, confidential and in some cases sensitive military information, which he reported to the police. We went down to where Mike had found the papers on Railway Street to see if they were authentic. Most had been cleared up, but there were still bits of paper in drains, bushes and under cars. Nestled in a bush was a scrap, footnoted, official, sensitive. Government guidance for this kind of information says that, in exceptional circumstances, its compromise could pose a threat to life, and that it could cause moderate, short-term damage to UK and Allied forces' military operations.
It's a worrying situation. The threats and the risk to the individuals actually is quite significant. They could be easily identified through social media, they could potentially be coerced, they could be harassed. But on a national stage and in an international stage with current situations and issues around the world that we're all very aware of, well, the implications are far darker and significant for both the individuals, but also, again, at a national level.
In a statement, the Ministry of Defence said,
"We are aware that documentation allegedly relating to the department was recently handed to the police. We're looking into this urgently and the matter is the subject of an ongoing internal investigation."
Callum Brewer, BBC Look North.
Well, the BBC is liaising with the Ministry of Defence regarding the best way to dispose of the papers we collected. We'll keep you updated as we learn more. Two brothers who raped vulnerable girls in Rotherham 18 years ago have been jailed for 31 years. Nicola Rees was at Sheffield Crown Court this afternoon.
Brothers Mark and Robert Evans were described by the judge as having a reputation for being violent and aggressive. They were sentenced to 14 and 17 years respectively for raping two vulnerable young girls who were just 13 and 14 years old at the time. The court heard how they manipulated and groomed those girls, how they started off friendly and then changed. They would ply them with alcohol and drugs, take them to a derelict barn where they would violently attack and rape them. Now, these sickening crimes date back 18 years, so it's been a long wait for justice for the victims. And we heard today about the psychological impact that it's had on both these women, with both still suffering from panic attacks and depression. The case is part of Operation Stovewood, a code word that we hear a lot in the news, and it refers to the UK's biggest investigation into child sexual exploitation and grooming in Rotherham. Officers from the National Crime Agency are working to bring justice for 1,400 victims. They were children at the time and they were exploited and groomed in Rotherham over a 16-year period. Now, so far there have been 220 arrests as part of this investigation, 39 convictions and many more still waiting trial.
A man has been charged in connection with a collision which killed 6 people last summer. A couple and their 2 young daughters died when their car collided with a motorbike on the A61 between Barnsley and Wakefield last July. A couple travelling on a motorbike also died in the crash. 49-year-old Christopher Cockle from Barnsley was charged with failing to stop at the scene of the collision. His case was adjourned by Leeds magistrates until June. Now on to the sport, and Sally is here. Sally, it's all yours.
Thank you, Amanda. Yes, well, after the international break, football outside the Premier League resumes in full tonight at Bramall Lane, where Sheffield United host Coventry at 8 o'clock in what will be a decisive last few weeks in their push towards promotion. It's a close race at the top of the Championship, with Sheffield United and Leeds on equal points as the top 2 and Burnley snapping at their heels. The Blades have the chance to go top tonight, with Leeds hosting Swansea tomorrow. And with just 8 regular matches left this season, there's little room for error, but no fear either.
This is what we're made for. This is why we're in football. This is what we're all about. And I'm with the players on match days. I'm with the players, day to day, and they've got a really excitement about them and a bounce about them.
Now, Leeds Rhinos play their first Netball Super League Arena home game of the season on Sunday, Mother's Day. They're hoping to pack out the First Direct Arena with their female fan base. Around 4,000 watched them play at their last game there. And goal-shooting superstar Joyce Mvula has some advice for how to keep calm under pressure.
I think as a student, you just need to believe in yourself, have lots of confidence. This is what I tell myself, sometimes, it can be a pressure game, you can have nerves, but just tell yourself it's you and the post alone, because when you're thinking about people outside, it's hard. So just tell yourself, okay, calm down, it's you and the post, and it works well. I feel like I'm feeling good, being on our home ground as well. Our fans are nice. I can't wait to meet them as well. It's just fun playing at home, and being at the other arena is going to make a big difference as well. So I can't wait for the day.
Just a few highlights from what will be a busy weekend of sport, Amanda.
It will indeed. Thank you very much, Sally. Now, an unholy row is brewing over the refurbishment of a church bell tower in a North Yorkshire village. St Oswald's Church in Askrigg was given a limewash render to stop rain leaking through its historic stonework. However, after the wraps came off last week, the tower is now a different colour to the rest of the church, much to the dismay of some. Phil Bodmer has been to take a look.
Sitting deep in the heart of Wensleydale, Askrigg is the very essence of a Yorkshire upland village. But it's the Grade 1 listed church that's got everyone talking, following the external restoration of its bell tower in a limewash render.
It was in a real mess. The damp was such an incredible problem. Water had been coming into the tower for decades, really, since the Victorians ripped the render off around about 1860. The rendering is there for a couple of reasons. It's there as a protective coat against the rain, but it also lives and breathes and it draws moisture out of it.
But the £230,000 project seems to have split opinion among visitors and locals alike.
It's done now, and hopefully it does what it does, and I think people should maybe accept it and move on.
I think it's stunning, absolutely stunning. I think the colour is perfect.
Yes.
And it shows it up beautifully, and there's less damp in the church. It's working.
It's certainly very bright from all around, so yeah.
Do you like it?
I think it looks a bit odd.
The church is 600 years old and originally would have looked, as you can see it here in this model, this is a model as it would have looked in 1843 before the Victorians took the render off.
And it's white, isn't it? That's how it would have
all white. It's all white, not just the tower, the whole church is white.
Some have described the tower's new appearance as like a lighthouse in the Dales, others on social media as an abomination. But for defenders, they've merely turned back the clock.
When people are upset, which they quite obviously are, I want to say to them, but your great-grandfathers would have been upset when the render was taken off, because they had only ever seen it white. And then suddenly the render was taken off and it was stone. It's now back to what it was originally.
It's understood the colour should fade over time, and although views may be mixed right now, it's hoped the tower may help draw more people to see the light.
Come and see St Oswald's Church in Askrigg and experience the wonder of God here in this place.
And it's certainly got people talking, hasn't it? Now, as part of the Eid celebrations next week, the BBC will be broadcasting the Eid al-Fitr prayers live for the first time ever from Bradford Mosque. We sent our Bradford New Voices Humaira Balm along to see the preparations.
Eid al-Fitr is a celebration that comes at the end of the month of Ramadan, and it's known as breaking of the fast. And this year, the Bradford Central Mosque are hosting something really special, and I'm here to find out more about it. This year, the BBC will be broadcasting live on the day itself. It'll show the morning service of worship, but also how much the event means to the community.
I'm meeting with the mosque's imam, who'll be leading the service on the day.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Assalamu alaikum.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Welcome to the mosque.
This looks absolutely beautiful, the stained glass. Sheikh, I cannot ignore up there. It's absolutely beautiful. Can you tell me about the dome?
Yeah, so it's something that sets us apart from other mosques. This is handcrafted lead dome built on site over the period of 7 years. And the calligraphy was done by a local calligrapher. Alhamdulillah, so everything that you see here has been done here in Bradford. Eid is a day when families get together. We spend time with families and friends. We get together over food, go out, and especially spend time in the masjid as well.
How important is it to have these broadcasts happen here in Bradford?
So our mosque is not just a place of worship, it is a landmark in the city. It reflects who we are as British Muslims. We share this beautiful city, and how this is an opportunity for us to reflect that and show this on national TV, and I believe it is a great opportunity for us. I'm really excited, actually. You can say it's a great opportunity and an amazing chance that we have to convey our message across to a global audience.
So this is the first ever time that kind of like religious prayer from a Muslim community happening inside a mosque. A big service like this has ever happened on mainstream terrestrial broadcasting in the UK, and probably in the West for that matter as well.
How important are things like this for both the Muslim community and the non-Muslim community?
For them to see inside a mosque, to see live prayer happening for the first time, it's an incredible thing to do at a time particularly when we have such really poor knowledge about any religion, but about Islam in particular as well. And when it comes to the Muslim communities, for them it's a mark, it's a signal that Ramadan, Eid, etc., that is now a significant part of the UK calendar.
You'll be able to watch all the coverage on BBC One and BBC iPlayer on Monday. Humaira Bam, BBC Look North, Bradford.
Now, Leeds Children's Hospital has taken delivery of an unusual piece of healing equipment, a 19th century grand piano no less. It's been donated to lift the spirits of patients and provide a diversion for families facing tough times. And to mark the occasion, they had a celebrity pianist with a very personal connection to come and play it, as Kathy Killick reports.
It's not what you expect walking into Leeds Children's Hospital, but it's proving a very welcome change. This Bluthner grand piano has been donated by the family of Kenneth Shaw, an organist and teacher from Barnsley who was passionate about the transformative power of music.
So just coming in and seeing it being played literally as I walked in, you know, smiles spread across my face, particularly for those longer term children who are here for perhaps, you know, extended periods of time. If they can find a moment to come down and play or sing along, even if they're not brilliant playing themselves, you know, just to come and enjoy it, that's what we hope.
To celebrate the piano's arrival, a highly gifted player and patient at the hospital, Lucy Illingworth.
Big step, good girl.
Lucy found fame in the Channel 4 programme The Piano, wowing the judges with her beautiful playing at Leeds Station. She's blind and has a rare chromosome condition and autism. She learnt to play on a toy keyboard, and later by feeling the movement of her teacher's hands.
Lucy has been in and out of hospital most of her life, and when she comes into a hospital environment she becomes very, very tense. So I think having music around will automatically calm them. So for us to be here and to be able to launch this, it's an honour. It's an honour and a privilege to have been asked.
Professor Adam Glazer has helped treat Lucy over the years. He's now setting up a research programme into the therapeutic power of music, especially for long-term patients.
We know that music is really very good for social and emotional well-being. We know it's really good at promoting development of emotional and social health for young people, and we know that starts really at a very early age for young babies, and it extends all the way through into adult life.
The piano will stay for anyone to play, maintained and looked after by Leeds piano competition staff, and Lucy is preparing for concerts in the summer, as music gives her an ability many would envy. Kathy Killick, BBC Look North, Leeds.
what a lovely idea. Lucy setting the standard there. Now we're on to the weather. Here we are again, Keely. Any sunshine in the forecast?
Yeah, some sunshine this weekend, and they're warming up nicely actually from Sunday onwards through next week. We've got quite a pleasant spell of what will feel a bit more like summer than spring. It felt a little bit fresher today. A beautiful view here across the harbour at Whitby, but yeah, it will have felt chillier sitting on that bench. We also had quite a few showers about. You can see a double rainbow here. You're most likely to get those early and late on in the day, and you can just notice the second rainbow is wider, but the colours are in reverse. So we've got a few pictures of double rainbows actually today. Thank you for sending your pictures in. You can keep them coming to the Weather Watchers page, or you can send them to us on social media as well. So yeah, a pretty decent weekend. Things deteriorating a little bit tomorrow after a lovely start to the day. Cloud will gradually slip in from the west, clouding over through the afternoon, but the bulk of the day for most of us will be dry. And then through Sunday, we're going to see an area of high pressure pushing in from the south. That will be with us for much of next week, bringing up mild air from the south. So something quite pleasant to come through next week. So this is a satellite picture from earlier. You can see the mottled cloud, the shower clouds. We've still got a little bit of cloud out there at the moment. Any showers will continue to die away, and it does look like it's going to be fine and dry through this evening and overnight. It could become quite cool. We could get a touch of frost, and the breeze will ease down to temperatures back at around 2 or 3 degrees. Let's have a quick look at those high water times then. 4 minutes past 4 in Filey and at 3:52 first thing in the morning there at Scarborough. So we'll start the day on a dry and a fine note, some sunshine. Just starting to see a little bit of cloud slipping onto the hills. So the sunshine turning hazy first, and then it'll cloud over, I think, through the afternoon. That cloud thick enough to bring some outbreaks of rain across the Dales later in the day. Not very much of that is going to slip further east, though. So a cloudy end to the day, perhaps, for many of us, and temperatures 12 or 13 degrees, about where they should be for this time of year. So don't forget, the clocks spring forward 1 a.m. on Sunday morning, so we'll lose an hour in bed, but the evenings are getting lighter, and we've got fine and settled weather to come through Mothering Sunday, and it's warming up as well, Amanda.
So we don't get a lie-in on Sunday then?
No, not on Mothering Sunday.
Isn't
it's
it
not allowed.
Away. Typical. Thank you very much, Keely. That's it from us. Have a lovely weekend. We'll see you after 10 o'clock. Goodbye.